When most people think about winning, their minds go straight to trophies, piles of money, or maybe even sweet revenge. But Melody Shari's story turns that idea completely upside down. In her case, victory wasn't loud. It didn't come with headlines screaming her name or champagne glasses clinking in celebration. Her win was quiet, steady, and rooted in something much deeper than a courtroom ruling. This wasn't about a judge slamming a gavel and declaring one side the champion. It wasn't about public applause or legal paperwork. No, this was about Melody choosing herself, in a season when everything around her seemed determined to break her down. And if we're being real, the drama between Melody and Martell has always felt like a reality show within the reality show. Love and Marriage, Huntsville only gave us glimpses, but what has really unfolded behind the scenes is bigger, rawer, and far more personal than any episode could capture. So, when the news broke that Martell would not face domestic violence charges and that his probation was officially behind him, a lot of people were quick to say he won. They saw that legal decision as a clean slate, maybe even as proof that he had some powerful hands pulling strings for him. But if you take a step back, the picture looks completely different. Because while Martell was out here celebrating what looked like a legal technicality, Melody was busy building a life that didn't need validation from a court. She didn't need a judge to tell her she was right. She had already claimed her victory the moment she walked away. That single decision changed everything for her. The ruling might have closed a legal case for Martell, but it didn't open any meaningful doors for him. If anything, it only threw more light on how far Melody has risen since then. Think about it. There was a time when Melody had to ask for space just to breathe in her own home. A time when chaos drowned out her peace, and joy felt like something far away, almost untouchable. When she left, she didn't walk away with much. No big safety net. No guaranteed plan. Barely even her belongings. But what she did carry out of that storm was priceless: her dignity, her faith, and the determination to build a future. That's not the kind of win you can post on Instagram. That's not something you can capture in a trending hashtag. That kind of win lives inside you. It shapes your spirit. It strengthens your voice. And anyone who has ever walked through fire like Melody knows exactly what that kind of freedom feels like. Because it's not just about escaping someone. It's about rediscovering who you are when you're no longer defined by another person's anger, control, or manipulation. That's the transformation Melody has lived out right in front of our eyes. And you can see it in her smile today. Not the fake, performative grin you put on when the cameras are rolling, but the kind of smile that comes from hard-earned healing. The kind of smile that says, "I went through the storm, and I'm still standing." Meanwhile, Martell seems stuck in a loop he can't escape. Sure, the headlines may have let him off the hook legally, but public opinion is a different story. The backlash hasn't gone away. The drama keeps circling him. And the reputation he once worked so hard to build now carries stains that no paperwork can wipe clean. That's the difference between false victories and real ones. A courtroom can clear your record, but it can't clear your character. You can win a case, but you can't win back trust with legal documents. And people see him differently now. Melody, on the other hand, is thriving. Not because anyone gave her permission to succeed, but because she finally decided she was done losing. Once she made that choice, everything shifted. Her businesses began to grow. She started showing up for her kids with a calmness and strength that only comes from true healing. And slowly, the glow came back. But this wasn't the kind of glow that comes from makeup or filters. This glow came from freedom. From finally being able to live a life that was hers alone. And honestly, that's a kind of victory you cannot fake. The wild part is how people still measure success by what happens in a courtroom, as if peace, dignity, and self-worth can be counted like fees on a bill. But if you look at what Melody has built, it's clear she's playing a completely different game now. And in that game, Martell isn't even on the board anymore. He's still caught up in petty arguments, obsessed with proving who said what or who's to blame. But Melody? She's out here building her future, step by step, like a woman who already knows she's won. And let's pause here, because walking away from a toxic relationship is not easy. In fact, it's one of the hardest things a person can ever do. When you've been tied to someone who constantly chips away at your worth, leaving doesn't feel like freedom at first, it feels like failure. Like you lost the fight, like you're starting over from zero. But Melody pushed through that fear. She took the leap not knowing how the ground would hold her. And instead of crashing, she soared. The most remarkable part? She did it without bitterness. She didn't drag Martel through the mud. She didn't waste her time playing victim. She simply chose herself firmly, quietly, and without looking back. And now, she's showing up as a mother, an entrepreneur, and a voice for women who feel stuck in the same kind of storm she once lived through. That's real influence. Not trending hashtags. Not TV ratings. Real impact is when women who feel trapped DM you and say, "You gave me the courage to leave." That's the kind of legacy Melody is creating. Martel, meanwhile, is still spending energy proving what he didn't do, instead of building something meaningful. And here's the truth: at some point, dodging accountability doesn't look like strength anymore. It looks like denial. And children notice that. They may not understand every legal detail, but they feel the energy. They know who brings peace into a home, and who brings storms. That's why Melody's choice carries so much power. She didn't just save herself, she protected her children. She gave them stability. She created a home where they could finally breathe without tension choking the air. And that stability? It's priceless. While Martel still thinks he's in the game, Melody already rewrote the rules. She's no longer clapping back, no longer wasting her light on back-and-forth arguments. She's simply thriving. And that glow of hers? It's the glow of a woman who doesn't need to win an argument, because she already won her life back. People underestimate the weight of living under someone else's chaos. It eats away at your spirit slowly, until one day, you realize you've been shrinking all along. And then, you finally decide no more. That was Melody's turning point. She didn't just walk away physically. She cut ties emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And that kind of freedom doesn't come from judges or courts. It comes from within. Her journey reminds us that healing isn't soft or picture perfect. It's not all spa days and inspirational quotes. Healing is messy. It's crying at midnight, replaying the worst words someone ever said to you, and choosing not to believe them anymore. It's having every reason to lash out, but choosing peace instead. That's the healing Melody lives daily. And that's what makes her story so powerful. She didn't erase her past. She didn't act like the pain never existed. She let it shape her, but she refused to let it define her. That's the difference between surviving and evolving. When you see her now calm, confident, glowing, you realize she's not just surviving anymore. She's soaring. She stripped her life to the bones, walked away from the home and marriage she thought would last forever, and started fresh. No script. No partner by her side. Just her instincts, her children, and her willpower. And look at her now. There's something sacred about a woman choosing herself unapologetically. Especially when the world tries to convince her that silence and forgiveness are her only options. Melody didn't play by those rules. She didn't pretend. She didn't fake peace. She chose truth. She chose discomfort, and from that discomfort bloomed a joy that can't be faked. Martel can keep chasing noise, courtrooms, headlines, Instagram lives, but noise isn't power. Peace is power. And right now, Melody holds more peace than ever before. That's why people connect to her. She's not perfect. She's not trying to be. She's real. She's honest. She shows people that you can lose everything you thought mattered: your marriage, your home, your comfort, and still keep your soul intact. For women watching her, she's proof. Proof that when you finally stop waiting for someone else to value you, and start valuing yourself, you unlock a freedom no one can take away. Melody didn't just walk away from Martel. She walked into the life she was always meant to live, one filled with strength, purpose, and alignment. And that's the kind of life no judge, no gossip blog, no headline can touch. Melody's glow up isn't cosmetic. It's spiritual. It's what happens when you walk through fire and come out refined instead of burned. She isn't chasing revenge. She isn't competing. She isn't even looking back. She's locked on her future, turning every scar into strength, every wound into wisdom. There's a big difference between escaping and rising. Escaping is running away. Rising is stepping into who you were meant to be. Melody rose. And no matter what Martell says, no matter what story the blogs try to spin, the truth is clear: she didn't just win in court. She won in life. And that kind of victory echoes forever. At the end of the day, Melody's journey reminds us that real victory doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes, the biggest win is the quiet decision to choose yourself, even when the world tells you to stay. She walked away with no guarantees, no promises, and no safety net, but she walked away with her dignity, her faith, and her future. And that was enough to build everything else. Martell may still be caught up in noise headlines, court rulings, and online arguments, but Melody has moved into a space of peace that no one can take from her. She's showing her children what strength looks like, not by fighting in the mud, but by rising above it. That's the kind of legacy that lasts. And maybe that's the lesson for all of us. Winning isn't about proving someone else wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about choosing peace over chaos, freedom over fear, and truth over denial. Melody didn't just survive, she transformed. And now, her glow is a reminder to everyone watching: you can rebuild, you can rise, and you can win quietly, powerfully, and forever.